Hey, what's up, buddy?
How's it going? How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
How's your day been? Amazing.
It's been okay. Been dealing, like we were just talking about off air, the rain has been here for 10 minutes and then gone for an hour, then back for 10 minutes. So every time you try to get outside, every time you get outside to do anything, you got to cut it short. So, boy, look at you with the fancy wine glass and chocolate milk, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that an energy protein shake?
It's chocolate milk. It's the only way to go.
Man, you're going deep tonight with the drink. Wow.
What I should do also is this.
I know you didn't get anything new.
I haven't.
Well, you did, but I have them here.
Is that the karate guy?
Yeah, that's the Foosh articulated icons. Sakit, martial artist. And then I picked up, surprisingly enough, in our local Walmart, which never has anything new, I got Shipwreck and Rock and Roll, which I figured it was necessary to pick them up considering they were at our Walmart and never has anything. So
very true. Very true.
And then I got to tell you a funny story. So I got home last night and there was like 10 people wanting those Moss Men. So I went back this morning and bought all 4 of them.
Awesome.
And they're all gone and claimed already. So, I mean, they're still here, but they're paid for and box them up tomorrow, ship them out Thursday. So let's see. We got Cobweb.
What's
that?
You're not as fast as Hella Dope? Not next day shipping?
Well, they didn't pay till later, so it's on them. No, I'm making one trip to the post office because I'm not like Hella Dope who has the post office come to me. So we got Cobweb Collectors here. How you doing, Cobb? And Odds from Ostradamus Toys. What's Odds saying here? Getting one soon, going to keep hunting. Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes open when I go back again in a couple of days. If there's any more, I'll grab them for everybody, since they're obviously not being distributed cleanly. All right, so what are we talking about tonight, brother?
Ghosts.
Ghosts and goblins, huh?
Ghosts, not goblins. That's another episode.
That's another episode?
Today. It's a different episode, man. Different episode.
Ghosts and shadow people. All right, man. Show's all yours.
I don't have the presentation.
Oh, yeah, that's me, huh?
That's all you, man.
You know, I forget these things. I'm old.
You're very old. It's showing. Oh.
All right.
Tales from the Crick. Tales from the Crick.
Yeah.
You got any tales from the Crick?
I have a Bigfoot story from a Crick, but not a ghost story.
It doesn't. That's a different episode
Bigfoot
again.
Was
man.
last week.
Your age is showing.
And then we'll do a separate episode just on Bigfoot, maybe, since he's the best cryptid out there. Coming soon.
All right.
I do have some ghost stories. If you want to hear them, I will tell them, but there's none of them that have to do with a Crick.
We'll save that for later.
All right.
So slide number 1, Wendigos and Skinwalkers. Now, there's a lot of superstition about Wendigos, and you're not supposed to say the name, but I'm not scared, and I have a sword, so I can fight them off. But sometimes when we're out in the woods, I do have to keep it, I have to keep you under wraps because you're about to say it, and then I'm like, hey, man, we're in the middle of the woods. We don't have any protection. So,
but I'm not afraid. I am so much light that I just repel all evil.
Mm-hmm. All right.
It's the ponytail. The bitch
Yeah,
biscuit.
it's the man bun. So Wendigos and Skinwalkers are both descended from Native American legend. Aloha. They're descended from Native American legend, and they're known as, sometimes people get them mixed up. They get each other mixed up, right? They think
Yeah,
Wendigos.
don't
are
people
Skinwalkers.
usually like associate them together even though they're completely different?
They're completely separate things from different areas, from different like cultures, completely different things. They're even created differently. Wendigos are believed to be cursed cannibals, that they were cannibals that ate people and then got cursed, and they became these creatures that were always hungry and always, they had these supernatural abilities that were just like taken over by the spirit of a Wendigo.
Did they get cursed because they were cannibals,
Yeah,
or
because
okay?
they believed that eating human flesh cursed you and gave you these demonic abilities. And then
So they did it purposely?
some did, some didn't. Some people believe that the spirit of the Wendigo could take over you and then you become a cannibal.
Okay.
And then the more you eat, the more the spirit controls you.
So what's the difference in appearance between the two? Well, just tell us what a Wendigo looks like, then you can go on to tell us what a Skinwalker looks like.
There's a lot of different pop culture references of Wendigos are like standing deer people with antlers, but that's like just made up nowadays. They were just people that were really strong and really fast and ate people. Skinwalkers are just people. They're not even people. They're like demonic entities that were created into a human form that can shapeshift. So the Skinwalkers can turn into like deer or wolves or other animals that like, and they can
Yeah, they're
shapeshift back into
shapeshifters, right?
humans. Yeah, so that's why they're called Skinwalkers. They
Right.
walk in other things' skins.
And the Wendigos are got the deer heads and everything just because of the Native American history behind them, probably.
It's because it's a cool looking design, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Any questions out there from the comments about Wendigos or Skinwalkers?
So
I'm gonna
you're
take
not
that as a
supposed to
no.
say Wendigo when you're in the woods, right?
Yes, because they get attracted to you, and then they can attach to you, and then you become a Wendigo.
So their purpose is to just create this huge Wendigo army, basically, right? Just
No,
absorb everybody into their Wendigo army.
they're trying to destroy as many people as they can. All right, next slide. Wraiths. Now this is a pretty interesting one because it's actually really weird that these are all over the planet. You know,
You mean like
wraith,
the lores all over the country?
not
Or
like the
all over the
lore, but
world?
like the idea of a wraith. In my opinion, like in my classification, a wraith is like a scary woman ghost that cries a lot. You know,
Okay. Similar to a banshee.
banshees, La Llorona, the weeping women, Kuchisaki Onna from Japan. They're all over the planet from everywhere. So what's up with that? What's up with that? You ever wonder why? I don't know. It's really
Same
interesting
reason that the alien races are all over the world that are all the same too, even prehistory.
because they all exist.
Yep. So what makes a wraith a wraith? What makes a wraith different than just a ghost or the lady
They
in the
kill
white
people.
dress that floats down the stairs?
They kill people.
Oh, so they actually have the ability to kill people.
Yeah, like banshees, they kill people. La Llorona, she kills people. Kuchisaki Onna, she kills people.
I said some become Wendigos out of desperation.
True, true. Sometimes you just got to eat your cousin, man. There's no other food. All right. So that's wraiths. You got any questions about wraiths?
I asked my question about wraith. Why do they want
That
to
was
kill
it?
people though?
Because they're angry.
They're angry women,
Yeah, they're
angry
angry
dead women.
as usual. It's as in
Yeah.
life, as in death. You know.
That's true. Let's see what Oz says. Manifestations of powerful emotions triggered by hate and sorrow. Good answer.
Great answer.
Evening, Allison. Greetings, my glorious children of the corn. And hello, Bill. All right, moving on.
Moving on. moving on. All right. Demons. Now, some people don't really like talking about demons.
Why is that?
But because they believe that talking about demons can attract demons and give them power.
Sort of like when you answer the door when a demon knocks 3 times.
Exactly. Yeah. Or if you talk about them or you say their names, it gives them power, apparently. But I was raised knowing that if you have the name of something, you can destroy it.
That's right.
Like, I was about to say Radagast, but it's Rumpelstiltskin. Not Radagast. Yeah.
Different
but anyway,
story.
Different story. Different story. Demons.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings is a different
Whole
episode.
thing about the wizards.
Ted.
Aloha,
Hello?
Ted.
Mr. Wonderful, Travis, how you doing?
Mhm.
Wait. I'm here. You can start now, actually. All right. Keep going about the demons.
Okay, so demons, they're a very controversial topic because some people classify demons exclusively religiously. So some people only believe that demons exist in Christianity or Islam or any of the, the Middle Eastern faiths. But there's demons in pretty much every religion or belief system out there. Buddhism has demons, Hinduism has demons, everything has demons. And they're just not called demons,
Well, that's because modern pop culture associates demons with the devil, right? So, I mean, it all comes back down to basic religious beliefs.
Demons are just, the idea of a demon is just a entity that's not a ghost, because ghosts are exclusively human, right? They were created by humans. Demons are something that's not human and is created outside of the human realm, but affects people in other ways, right? So, like, if you think of a ghost, you think of a dead person that's haunting somebody, right? But a demon is being completely on its own.
Yeah, and ghosts don't even have to be evil, right? Ghosts are just dead people that some might be doing bad things, but
exactly.
Demons are usually mischievous too, right?
Evil, some would say.
Yeah.
They have the ability to like manipulate people, possess people, hurt people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that they feed off of fear and anger and negative emotions, and that's why they do what they do.
Right. I don't know. I mean, the fact that demons are in every culture, basically in the world. I mean, pretty much every culture has some form of religion, but I would think they're more of just a evil entity than something that's actually, like raised from hell or something like that.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people think. All right. Next slide. Shadow people, your favorite. You get to talk about this one, man. It's all you.
Shadow people. So, shadow people are basically, no one really knows what shadow people are. They look human, but they're usually all just black. You see a lot of them then in scary stories and stuff in pop culture nowadays. They really didn't become too well known until recently, but they're usually, when you hear about haunted houses, people usually see shadow people, which I have a very interesting theory about shadow people. You want to hear it?
I'd love to hear it.
All right. I believe that shadow people are manifestations of the evil or bad things that are happening either in a place or to a person, right? You think about most people that see shadow people, they have some kind of traumatic situation going on, right? Like the shadow person that lives at grandma's house, right? That you've heard, I've seen firsthand, right? It's real. That house was horrible with my dad that was really abusive when we were younger, and my mother who was crazy. So there's a lot of trauma that went on there. And, I was thinking about it when we were doing this show, getting ready to do the show, that I was young and had a pretty traumatic situation happen. And it wasn't really shortly after that. It was really shortly after that for like 2 weeks straight is when I saw that thing all the time. Right. And it was just a shadow, like, in my head, I kind of attributed it to like like a Grim Reaper type of look. But when we saw that movie Bridge to Terabithia, and that shadow
Ooh,
thing was running awake and asleep, and I would see this thing and hear this thing. The phone would ring, no one would be there. I'd answer. We'd be sitting at the dinner table and the phone ring, and my dad would tell me to answer the phone. I'd go answer it, and there'd be no one on the other line. Happened for like 2 to 3 weeks straight, continuously, right? It was like a nightmare, asleep and awake, nonstop. I was probably like eight or 10, somewhere in that area. It's horrifying. And then, that shadow person still lives at grandma's house. I mean, when your mother and I got separated and I moved back there, of course, having another traumatic experience, being separated from your mom and your family and stuff, it was like on in full force. But people might say I'm crazy, but you saw it. I mean, well, you didn't see it, but you witnessed some of the craziness, right? I mean, why was like the oil that was on the wall up and down the stairs at one time for no reason at all, right? No one was going
weird
up
one.
and down the stairs except for us, right? And then there's
Definitely not
always
with
that,
oil.
yeah, there was always that beep upstairs in the attic, and I saw that shadow person merge through the door as it turned the whole door black, and then it stained the door. Remember?
It
I told
talked
you
to
about
me that one time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was horrifying.
Very
And the
creepy,
funny thing
very creepy.
is that people are going to stop watching this channel because they're going to think I'm absolutely insane, even though I'm not.
You are.
Remember the little people that I told you that lived in grandma's basement, right?
Yeah.
When that shadow person started coming around, I never saw them again.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that weird?
That is very weird. It's a weird coincidence.
Yes.
Coincidence.
Coincidence, exactly. So I firmly believe that shadow people are absolutely some kind of manifestation of either trauma or like an evil thing going on within a person or a house, right? And that it just manifests into a mass of blackness.
I 100% agree.
I can't see the comments. Is there any comments? I can't read them because my eyes are not that good.
There's a question. If you'd like to answer the question,
Sure.
can you read it?
Is the house in an area where there are a lot of storms like tornadoes or hurricanes? No, it's in Western New York. We don't have tornadoes or hurricanes.
All right, here's another one. The shadow person I saw when I was a teenager looked like a winged demon or gargoyle. That's very interesting.
That's crazy. That sounds more like a demon or a Wendigo.
All right. Matthew has a question.
Yeah, that's basically what they were. I don't know what their race was actually called, but they were in my parents' basement when I was a little kid. My brother and I lived in the basement because that's where all of our toys were and that's where we played. And they were always there. There's a whole family of them, like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, something like that. I mean, there was some, we didn't see all of them at once, but I mean, they were there and we saw them. I didn't believe it when my brother first told me about it and I was little. And then he showed me, I was like, holy shit.
Mr. Wonderful is going to avoid you because you're a little insane.
It's all good, Travis.
All right, we're all cut up.
All right.
Next slide. Reapers. Ooh, this is my favorite.
All right.
So
Dive
Reapers. Now, there's this idea of the Grim Reaper that's kind of pretty much around everywhere on the entire planet, right? We've got Grim Reapers that are in cultures all around the world. They, not just like in the idea of like skeleton man in cloak, but a lot of people see these beings before they die, right? Banshees are technically a Grim Reaper, well, a Reaper of some sort, because they symbolize death, right? We have like black
wasn't the guy that took the dead to the eternal world or whatever in Greek mythology or Roman mythology basically the Grim Reaper?
No. Chiron had nothing to do with actually killing people. He just took them across the river Styx. It was Thanatos who was pretty much the Grim Reaper, and he was it's called a psychopomp. Right. It's a being that has something to do with killing people or the dead.
Yeah.
But he technically Hermes is a psychopomp also, because he would he would lead people into the underworld rather than. So you see Hermes as like the fun, run around, crazy messenger god, but he's actually a god of the dead in a
Yeah.
way. Anyway, Reapers are all around the planet. They have different representations throughout the entire planet, but there's always pretty much a Reaper deity or being around in a culture of some sort, right? So I really like this because it's like people see these things before they die, right? If you really look into like near death experiences, you talk to people who have had near death experiences, they say that they see people standing in the corner of their room that they don't know and that weren't there, like creepy black shadow figures standing in the corner, and that's weird to think about. Or people that are dying on their deathbed, you can hear sometimes they say like, "Who's that? Oh, who are you?"
Yeah.
And they point to places. It's pretty interesting.
I remember, I think it was grandma, or maybe it was one of my uncles that was telling me that when my grandfather was in the hospital dying, that he kept talking to somebody over in the corner of the room,
Mm-hmm.
and like, nobody was there, but he kept like actually physically talking to somebody over in the corner of the room.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of the craziest things because it's like, why and
Yeah,
how?
but Reapers
Right?
aren't technically evil, right? They're just really
No,
there to
they're
help
just
you
doing their
cross
job.
over.
They're doing their job, right?
Yeah.
I think that's something that we really mix up nowadays, is that we take the horseman of death from the book of Revelations, right? Because that's where
Right.
this entire idea comes from, the
Right.
skeleton with the
skull
cloak and the
riders and all
scythe.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we take that idea and we mix it with the idea of the Reaper, which is not, it was never a bad thing. I mean, just listen to the Blue Oyster Cult, man. Honestly, just that's all
Yeah.
I can say.
Don't fear
There's
the
no
Reaper.
reason. Yeah, don't fear the Reaper. I mean, it's all, it's going to come for us all one day,
That's right. Can't avoid death.
Except for
Right.
me, I can, but
Yeah.
I am death.
Yeah. Anything in the chat before we move on to the next one?
Look sometime into the Native American tales, the Choctaw, mostly, of Nalusa Falaya. Some of the shadow beings may connect to that. Maybe you do live on somewhere that probably had. Well, you used to live somewhere that probably had some sort of Native American.
Yeah,
people.
that whole ground was actually nothing but bean fields when they put the neighborhood that my parents lived in. So I mean,
Exactly.
I'm sure it was very rural and stuff. What's Matt say? He brought up another thing.
I don't. Oh, there's Matt. Reapers bring peace and relieve suffering. They're coming for us all. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You ever seen a Reaper?
I've never seen a Reaper, but the image of one is what that shadow person reminded me of, right? But in a more intense and horrifying way.
Mm. I put a Reaper into my book, and I didn't name him, and he was never really told what he is, right? You just kind of have to figure it out yourself. No, in Lotus.
Oh, in Lotus.
You have to figure it out. You don't read, and you haven't read it, I'm guessing.
I haven't finished the book yet. No, I can't see. I'm gonna have to you come over. I'm gonna have to come over and have you read it to me.
All right.
You
got to get one of those pens that you can just put over the book and it reads. Oh,
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Anyway, I put him into the book, and he's Civil War battlefields like Gettysburg, lots of ghostly activity because there's so many people died.
Yeah.
So many people died. But
Gettysburg is a weird place. I actually camped on one of the battlefields in Gettysburg, and like, not that I saw anything, but like you can just feel like, the energy in the air, right? That's still there. I mean, it's such a weird, bizarre. It's like going to, the Vietnam War Memorial. I mean, like you get next to that wall, you can just feel the energy and the sorrow. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I put a Reaper into my book, and he like the whole idea of it was that it was trying to be. She was afraid of it, right? During the story, because it came as a creepy, scary manifestation of darkness with bugs and like bats and creepy long fingernails and stuff. That everything that we see death as in life,
Because
right?
of her programming, though, right?
Well, not because of her program, just because it's a metaphor for humans, right? We see death
Right.
during life while we're alive as the most terrifying thing that's possible, right? The scariest we see, we're always afraid to die, right?
Yeah.
But after she becomes conscious and does the end of the book that I'm not going to spoil, uh, she meets the Reaper in another place that I'm not going to also spoil, and talks to him, and he's like this beautiful angel of darkness, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes, we realize, I guess, when we're about to die, that how much we've feared it for no reason, you know? Anyway.
That's one of the things like you and I have talked about before, right? Not to change the subject or go off topic, but like just living, you know, for today, for this moment that you're in, right? Because so many people fear death. And then when it's time, they realize that death isn't horrible, right? I mean, it's like, and we attach all these negative emotions to it. And, you know, like the
I think that's
Reaper,
really just Western culture, though.
right?
Because
Probably.
if you look into like South American and even Mexican cultures, like the Day of the Dead,
Oh,
we
yeah.
really see it up here now as like a spiritual thing, right? But
Yeah.
it's a celebration of death, right? That
Yep.
is a celebration not to be afraid of dying, you know. That's a celebration
Yeah.
of
And most of the Asian
what's to
countries
come.
don't have a fear of dying either, right? They all have
That's all Buddhism is.
yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty much Western culture. So,
But I think that comes from, I don't know. I'm not an expert or anything, but I'm pretty sure Judaism doesn't really have an afterlife, right? That's I think that's part of it, is that they don't have like a heaven that they're going to. And I'm not entirely sure. I'm not an expert, but I think that might be where that comes from, is that we don't know if we have an afterlife. And then also Christianity, with hell being where you're going to go after you
right.
die. I think that's really why we all fear it, because we just think that we're going to some horrible place afterward, right? Or there's
Yeah.
nothing after.
Yeah. I
So
think there's a lot of people that believe that when you're, I mean, part of it is just the people don't realize, you know, that like when you're dead, right? They're afraid they're going to miss people, right? Afraid they're going to miss their kids, their wife, their husband, their best friend, whatever, right? Their dog. But when you're dead, you probably don't miss anybody, right? Number two, yeah, we have like a lot of the religions have created this whole thing about heaven and hell, especially Christianity, right? And
I,
how bad, I think a lot of people are afraid of the actual judgment that's coming as opposed to, you know, just the peace that it's going to come.
well, yeah, I don't think anybody would ever be afraid of peace. So
Right. But that's what I mean. They're associating the death with the judgment and the possibility of going to hell as opposed to just, you know, moving on to the next plane of existence.
yeah, I 100% agree. All right, back to the topic.
All right.
All right. Ghost stories. It's your turn.
Well, you
You have
didn't
a lot
even
of ghosts.
define what a ghost is, dude. We missed this total screen.
We don't need to define what a ghost is. People know what a ghost is.
Yeah, it's a white sheet that floats around in your bedroom.
Okay. Time for you.
What do you want me to tell?
Just
You want to
tell
tell
your
which,
ghost
which
stories, man.
you want me to
As
tell
many
a
as you
ghost
want.
story? I only have a few. You have any ghost stories?
I have a few.
All right. Well, you start one. And
No,
then
I'm
I'll
not
go.
starting. You're
All
the
right.
old man.
I'm the old
Age
man.
before beauty.
Age before beauty. Oh, I love you.
I know.
All right. I will tell the ghost story about when I was probably 12. Let's see. How old are you when you're in like sixth grade?
13.
12, 13. So let's see. I was probably in fifth grade. So however old that is, 11, 12 years old, right? So I was staying with my great grandma. who I stayed with a lot. She's the great grandma that your oldest sister is named after, Emma. And
103-year-old or whatever.
no, that was grandma on your mom's side. This great
Hmm.
grandma only lived to be like 79 or something. But I was staying there with her, and my uncle, which was her adopted son, they had like the house split in half. So half of it was hers and half of it was his, right? It was like a duplex.
Yeah.
And my cousin lived next door, and I was friends with my cousin. His name was Clay. And, the houses were connected. So we just went back and forth between the houses, right? Because I was staying with grandma. He would just go to his room. But the house is old, older than real. I don't know how old it was, but it was old, really old house. And when I was young, I remember overhearing, right? Not that I was supposed to hear this, but my great grandma telling my mom and a couple of my uncles, right? Because Grandma Deb has what, 3 brothers and 2 sisters, right? So I remember her telling a story about how when my grandfather was little, after his dad died, which was my great grandma's husband, he worked on the railroad for many years. And when he'd come home, he'd sit in a rocking chair in the living room, and my grandfather would sit on the stool in front of him, and he would hear about all the trains and stuff that happened during the day. So it was like 2 or 3 days after my great grandfather passed away, she walked into the living room, and my grandfather, being a little boy, was sitting on the stool. He was only like 6 when this happened, was sitting on the stool in front of the rocking chair. The rocking chair was moving, and she said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Dad's telling me about the trains today." Right? So I
Mm.
overheard this story. So I knew the place was haunted by my great grandfather.
Hmm.
Now, like I said, he was gone. I wasn't even a twinkle in Dad's eye yet. And my cousin certainly wasn't. So the one day we were over on his side of the house, and we went upstairs to the bedroom. And now their house was the old style house. Like they had like a door on springs that went upstairs. And it slammed every time it shut. And all the stairs are really creaky. And we were in his room playing. Probably like with action figures or matchboxes or something. And we heard the door open to come upstairs, right? Heard a couple of stairs creak. My cousin stops and he looks out the door and he goes, "Grandpa, is that you?" Now, Grandpa didn't live there that he had, right? He didn't know any of his grandfathers. And after that, we didn't hear any more noises. And I got like, this overwhelming chill running down my my whole
Mm.
body. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Clay, let's go back over to great grandma's side of the house and play over there in the living room." Right? Because
Yeah.
I was horrified. I mean, there's no way that he would have known that story, right? And there was no
Hmm.
way that he had any idea of a grandfather coming, because we shut the door and locked it behind us. So the only person that would have been able to come in the house is either his dad or his mom, right?
Yeah.
And so when he stopped, I mean, like dead in his tracks, playing on the bed, and he just said, "Grandpa, is that you?" Just all nonchalant, like, common occurrence. I was like, okay, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. That's a little spooky. It's a little.
Yeah, especially when you're like 11 or 12, right?
Mhm.
All right. Got any chats going on? Anything we need to
Uh,
address?
just a spooky. Someone saying spooky. It's a little spooky.
I don't see spooky. Oh, it's at the bottom.
I don't think you can read.
I can't. That's why I asked you to look up the chats.
But
What's
you gotta trust me when I say it. I agree. All right. My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay, which one should I do? I'll start off good. Very light. When I was like 9, 8 or 9, you got up to go out and take our dogs, our little dogs, the Chihuahua and the Pomeranian mix dogs out. We still lived in this house. And you got up to go out and take them. And it was like 3 a.m, and I would sleep on the couch because I would see things, and the Bigfoot from the Slim Jim commercial would try to break through my window. So I was laying out on the couch, and the ceiling fan randomly turned green and started spinning. Now I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it was, but it was a real thing that happened. So that's first off. And then I saw little green leprechaun men sitting in a cup one time after I woke up. I don't know if that's really ghosts. It's leprechauns though. So,
Well, were they
I'll tell.
leprechauns or were they glowing leprechauns?
They were glowing leprechauns. They were glowing green little dots, and they would swim in the
Those are
cup.
probably aliens.
Maybe, but here's the real ghost story. So we were at Grandma's house, your mother's house, and we were all standing around the kitchen table, and I was the only, like, it was me, Isabel, my sister, your daughter, and my grandmother, your mother, standing around the table. And when I got there and we were all standing there, it was around Easter time, so she had this Easter decoration out, and it started spinning and making music. And me and Isabel were like, "What? That's creepy," because nobody touched it, nobody spun it.
Yeah.
And I went over.
It was
and
the
I
music
picked up-
box one, right?
There were no batteries. It was this little Easter bunny thing that would spin and it would sit on.
Yeah,
like
it was like the music box, but it was battery
Yeah.
powered, not like the old style wine
Yeah.
ones.
No, but there were no batteries in it.
Yeah.
There were no batteries in it. There was nothing, and nobody touched it. So it was just spinning and making music on its own. That was creepy. I didn't understand that.
Is that when you guys were sleeping downstairs?
No, that was during the day. I think we were going to the beach or something.
Okay.
The one time when we were sleeping downstairs, though, I was down there, and Isabel was down there next to me. She was sleeping already, though. It was probably like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I just hear a whisper in my ear, "He's coming." And that was, I couldn't sleep after that. I was I heard it. I heard it clear as day. Somebody whispered in my ear. Nobody else was awake. Nobody else was there. And it was terrifying.
Yeah. Grandma's house is haunted by that manifestation shadow person. So
one time on back in the woods that are near my house that are owned by my grandfather, I was back there really far back, and I was with my friend, and we hear a random woman screaming my name, which was creepy. So we start running out of there. And here's a little story. There's a Native American house on our land. So that's just a thing. But
the woman the Native American woman killed herself on that in those woods.
Yep.
And she was supposedly buried back there.
And I heard someone calling my name. And then so me and my friend run out of the woods as fast as we can, and we get to the cabin. We have like a cabin back there. And we hear a roar from behind us. So me and my friend start sprinting even faster, and then I turn around and I'm like, "Oh, it's just my dad standing up in the cabin." He doesn't sound like a woman though. So the woman's voice was different. That was a
but you guys were way back on the 50 acres when you heard the woman's voice.
Yeah, and then you just randomly appeared, and then you laughed at us for being scared, even though we just heard a woman ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing.
Don't Wendigos or
here's the thing. I was just about to say, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Okay, get to the thing.
Okay, here's the thing. Wendigos or skinwalkers also use the tactic of mimicking people's voices that are going to, in order to call you in and lure you in and be able to take you.
Yeah, like they use distressed female voices
or just like
calling
people
your name.
Yeah.
So you
your
feel
mom's
comforted.
voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So Pa's got a Wendigo living in his woods.
Maybe it's just passing through.
Yeah. Don't say anything about Wendigo when you're back there anymore.
I don't ever.
All right. So I used to babysit these kids. They were friends. The parents were friends of my parents. So, I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I'd babysit, make some extra money for, doing whatever. And the house that they lived in back in the early 1900s when it was built and through like 1960, I believe, 1970s, it was a funeral home. It was a gorgeous place, right? You walk in, there's this big like curved staircase that was open, that went up, and the stairs were like solid oak. I mean, it had like one of those huge banister, railings on it. I mean, just really beautiful. And the whole upstairs, when you got up there, was like open with railing around it. Then it all went into different rooms. So I remember one night I was babysitting, and The oldest kid, his name was Chris, and he was probably like, he wasn't much younger than me, like maybe 4 or 5 years. I was sitting in and then he had twin sisters that were probably like 5 years younger than him. So we were all
Already
sitting in,
creepy.
yeah, we were sitting in the living room just watching, some kid show or whatever, right? I mean, whatever was on cable TV, and it was around. I think it was around either Halloween. No, it wasn't Halloween. It had to be Christmas time because we were watching a Christmas special, I believe. And we were all just sitting on the couch, I mean, it was four of us and had snacks and everything. And Chris went to the bathroom. Now, the bathroom, like the living room was here, and the bathroom was out. You go past the stairs, and then the bathroom was like back underneath where the stairs would be, right? And I'm sitting there with the girls, and all of a sudden I hear Chris let out like this blood curdling scream, right? And I'm like, holy shit. I figured he like fell, cut himself, did something, a typical 8-10-year-old kid would do, right? Something stupid. So I go flying in there, whip open the door, and he's sitting on the ground, curled up in a ball, like bawling his eyes out, right? And I'm like, what happened, Chris? What happened? And he's like, there was a face of an old man that was in the mirror when I went to wash my hands. And
I've been there. And
he's like described the whole thing, how it had, like it was just this really old, horrible looking face, and it didn't say anything or do nothing. It just stared out of the mirror at him, right? And I was like, okay, so let's go back in the living room and hopefully mom and dad get home soon, right? So an hour goes by and I'm like, I really got to go to the bathroom, I'm like, well, I don't want to go into the bathroom, trying to be, the tough guy because I'm the babysitter, right? So go in the bathroom. I make it a purpose not to like look in the mirror, right? And so that night ended, the parents came home and everything. A couple years later, this couple is over at my parents' house, and I'm older now, like, 15, 16 years old, and we're sitting there just all talking. And I started telling the parents about that story that happened, and the father, his name's Calvin, Grandpa's Joe's good friend. You probably heard him talk about him all the time.
I've heard of Calvin.
So Calvin starts telling the story about how at nighttime when he's alone in the the kids are all off to bed and his wife's off to bed, he'd sit down in the living room and watch TV, and the temperature in the living room would drop, and an old World War II dressed pilot would come into the room and pace the living room floor as he was watching TV.
And Calvin would just see that?
Yeah.
And not, he wouldn't care. He'd just be like, oh,
he like tried to engage with it. He said a couple of times.
Just TV, man.
But he couldn't like it wouldn't. TV. So it was like a residual energy, right? Where it just walked back and forth. It wasn't like
someone's ringing your doorbell.
No, that was just my phone. That was pretty loud.
Interactive ghosts.
Yeah. Like it wasn't, like it wasn't moving around or nothing. It just walked the same spot. But like you said, every night at the same night, the temperature in the living room would drop, and then this guy would walk in, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he talked about seeing some other ghosts and stuff, but like he described the World War II pilot like in such vivid detail that I knew he'd seen it, right?
Yeah.
Totally blew my mind. And I was like, okay, so if that's there, who is the face in the mirror?
Probably the World War II pilot, man.
Yeah, but why would he just walk that same path when Calvin's there and not move around anything else, right? Being a funeral home, there's probably a ton of dead people,
True.
Spirits that live in that.
I'm a dead person.
Right? Yeah.
I don't even exist.
I believe it. Well, where'd you go?
Anyway, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
it's a very weird story.
Yeah. I just remember being so horrified, like when I was 12, and Chris saw that face in the mirror. And he's
remember when I told you I saw a face in the mirror in the bathroom downstairs at the old house?
Yeah.
And you didn't believe me?
Nope. I didn't want to. I didn't want to.
It really happened. There was a whole... Okay, so in this old house, the house we used to live in, for you guys that are listening, there was this downstairs bathroom and then an upstairs bathroom. The upstairs bathroom was super nice, right? It was beautiful because they reworked it and everything. But downstairs bathroom was disgusting. It was
the downstairs bathroom was really just
a secondary bathroom. Yeah. but there was a toilet down there, and sometimes you'd have to go use the downstairs bathroom because people would be upstairs in the bathroom taking a shower or something forever. My sisters mainly.
Yeah,
But
you have a mom and two sisters. You're not getting in
yeah.
the bathroom.
So there was this hole where you could access the water tank and everything, and it went under the stairs, and it was really deep, and like you could hide back there if you really wanted to.
You were terrified of that
because I saw a lady peek her head out from behind the wall. I'm not even joking. Like some creepy lady peeked her head out from behind the wall and stared at me when I was washing my hands. And I looked in the mirror and I looked and I saw her peeking out, and then she went back behind the thing, and I freaked out. And you don't believe me.
I believe you, dude. I told you that house is cursed.
You had to. I couldn't even use the bathroom without you having to push the washing machine up against the hole, because I thought she would come out and try to kill me.
Yeah, you never went to the bathroom down there ever.
I couldn't, dude. Yeah. It was terrifying, and I like tried my best to. I couldn't even wash my hands in there. Sometimes I'd be so scared that I wouldn't. When I got home from school, I'd be so scared that I would sit in the living room and not move from the living room, or go. I'd go to the kitchen because the kitchen was right next to the living room, but I wouldn't go from that front of the area because I was scared that if I walked past there, the lady would grab me and pull me into the hole, and then I'd be stuck in there forever, and like I'd never be alive. It was terrifying. I wouldn't even be able to go upstairs.
No, I told you
that was scary.
That house was cursed. It wasn't just haunted. That house was cursed. There was an evil presence that lived in that house. Every couple that lived in that house ended up fighting constantly. All the people that lived in the house fought constantly. Like when you guys all lived there, you and Belle got along, but like it was always battles. Remember, all of us were just constantly at each other's throats. Right. And then Brad and Allison, all of that, they were always at each other's throat. And the couple that lived there before that had the same problem. Right. It was either built on cursed land or somebody cursed that house for a reason. So I don't doubt
Either way, there was a creepy lady in that bathroom.
It's probably the same lady that was screaming your name. It butted up against the same woods.
I don't know, man.
She likes
I don't know.
She thinks you're cute.
Probably. I don't know. It was not fun. No. I couldn't use the bathroom. And I don't know. Moving into another topic, I have a lot of creepy dreams. And as a kid, I would have sleep paralysis a lot, like all the time, like once a week, even more than that sometimes, because I would sleep on my back. And I don't really understand the science behind it, but sleeping on my back makes me have sleep paralysis. But it would go from, the thing was that sleeping on my back induces lucid dreams for me, right? For some reason. But then the lucid dreams would induce sleep paralysis. So it was like, if I wanted to have lucid dreams, I'd have to have sleep paralysis. But I've never had a sleep paralysis demon, right? I would have the sleep paralysis.
Yeah, a lot of people say they see shadow people when they have sleep paralysis.
I would wake up and I just wouldn't be able to move. And then I'd just be like, oh, this is really scary because I can't move. And I thought I was paralyzed. I think it started when I was like 11. And that was my first time that I did it. And I was like, oh, this is terrifying.
No, you had that. You had that your entire life. You just don't remember. Even when you were a little kid, back then they called them night terrors, right? Mm-hmm. And you had them at least 2-3 times a week, right? Just wake up. Well, you wouldn't even wake up. You would just start screaming and crying and like, scared to death in your sleep, and we couldn't get you to like snap out of it, right?
Yeah.
And your mom was always like, "Oh, don't scare them because you'll kill them," and all the whole rumors of don't wake a sleepwalker and all this stuff, right? And so that's why you never slept.
I still don't sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know, something about my dreams, man. They're creepy and they're terrifying, and I don't really understand them. But like, I've always just had
put it all in your book.
Here's a crazy dream that I had that probably happened. It was a recurring nightmare, and it probably happened like 30 times in my entire, like it only lasted for maybe 2 or 3 years, but it happened like 30 times that I had this dream. So there was this clown that would come out of my closet, right? And me and my sister shared a room when we were younger, and she had a bed over on the right side of the room. I had mine on the left side of the room, and the clown would come out of the closet and hide under my sister's blanket, which hung over the end of her bed. And he'd turn on a flashlight, and I'd wake up and be like, oh, what's that? And then he'd giggle, come out from underneath the blankets and attack me. And you would have to rush into the bedroom because you'd hear me screaming and fight the clown and shove him back into the closet. And that probably happened like maybe 20 times, right? But eventually it got really, really weird because we would get in the dream, we would get these packages in the mail that were full of sand. And there was this cardboard like hourglass that we would pull out. And when the sand got to the bottom of the hourglass, the clown would come back. But it would like the dream would end before the clown would come back. And then I'd wake up and have a normal life. And then the dream would come back when I fell asleep. And then it would continue from where that hourglass was. So the hourglass would go down and the cloud would come back and you'd have to fight it. And that was weird because it would have like continuations and stuff.
Yeah, so, that is bizarre.
That was terrifying. I'm not even afraid of clowns. To this day, I'm not afraid of clowns. I have no fear of clowns or anything, but that it's just like some weird thing about that clown, you know? I had another dream.
Do you want me to tell another?
Yeah, you tell a ghost story.
You want to tell your dream first? Go ahead.
I was going to tell the dream about me and my friends in this dream. We all went to this campfire. It's not scary,
yeah, this is a good one.
We went to this campfire, right? And we were all just hanging around. This happened in real life, but like we all went to a campfire and just sat in the woods for 11 hours, but nothing creepy happened in the dream except for like coyotes. I mean, in the real life, except for like coyotes walking around. But in the dream, it was a reenaction of the campfire that we all had, and it was just me and my 3 friends, and we were there, and randomly a lady in like a glowing lady in white with like super blonde hair walked like an elf going into the Grey Havens in Lord of the Rings, walked out of the woods and just walked past us and just kept walking. And I pulled out my phone to take a picture of it. And when I looked at the picture, it was all distorted and like the camera was all glary and broken and stuff. And I was like, what the heck? So I went home and I fell asleep after that day. And I woke up in real life and I was like, oh, this is okay. And then I went back to bed because it was like, I don't know, 6 in the morning. Went back to bed and the dream continued. But this time I was in a different kind of universe. I was in a different universe where everything was different. I looked different. My friends looked different. Everything was different. And the only thing that was similar to that universe from before was that we were all friends and I had the picture on my phone of the broken up woman. So I drove. I don't think I was driving at this point, but I drove in the dream. I drove to my friend's house and he looked completely different. My friends looked completely different, but we all remembered very slightly that picture for some reason. And we're like, what the heck is up with this picture? Why do we remember this picture? And it was because the dream, I don't know, it was some weird thing, but like eventually we all figured it out and it was so weird. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely were driving because that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you were only like 13 years old. So you weren't even thought of yet, but mom and dad lived in upstairs of this house that her Aunt Connie, which was
mom and dad of who? Mom and dad of who?
Your mom and dad.
So you and
me and your mother. Okay.
Yeah,
your mother and I. Your mother and I lived in the upstairs apartment of this old farmhouse out in the middle of this country place, right? It was on a dead end dirt road. I mean, you know, it was surrounded by nothing but woods and stuff like that, right? Beautiful place, but it always felt off, right?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty intuitive when that comes to that kind of stuff, right? I mean, you know, I can feel that kind of thing, right? And just like you can. And I remember I had just gotten my hernia operation, right? So we had to fold out the couch that your mom and I had at the time, folded out into a bed. And Emily was.
I know this story. This is a good one.
Emily was born, and she was little, right? So mom was in the bedroom taking care of her, and I slept out there because I was in such pain and couldn't, you know, because I had like a double hernia operation at the same time, right? So I was on painkillers and a lot of pain, and you know, wasn't sleeping and everything. So we had Emily in her bassinet or crib or whatever in the bedroom. So I slept out on the couch just not to disturb her, and then mom also didn't want to like accidentally, you know, hit me in the stomach or something, right? Yeah. So I remember I was laying out there and we were on the second floor. Now the front side where I was sleeping, there was a porch, but on the back side, it was just a, you know, straight wall, right? And it had the old style house, huge windows, you know, like almost floor to ceiling size old house windows. And from where I slept, you could look out to the kitchen, and the kitchen was really small, but like it was a straight shot to the window, and the stove was over here, and the fridge was on the other side, and then it was just a straight shot to the big window that was in the kitchen. And I remember I'm laying there sleeping, and there's this huge thunderstorm going on, and woke me up, and I was like, just kind of like, at this point, I wasn't really on the painkillers anymore because it's probably been like a couple weeks since I had my hernia operation, and I remember sitting there, and like it was like one of the worst storms that I've ever like experienced at that point in time, right? And I'm just watching out the window at the flashes of lightning, and then this huge flash of lightning hits, and there's a black outline of a figure standing in the window. Now, there's no way there was a person standing outside.
No.
And there was nobody inside because I could see the kitchen floor to the window. So this figure was just hovering there in the midair outside the window upstairs.
That's
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the shadow person from Grandma Deb's house. I don't have any idea, but
it was me.
I was
flabbergasted.
I was a tough kid, right? I mean, I've been through a ton of shit. I was not afraid of much anything. I mean, I was the kid that, when someone dared me to do it, I would just do it, right? When it came to going into caves, haunted houses, whatever, I was always first, right? I saw that thing, like, the lightning was like, flashing like a couple times, and it just stayed there, right? I mean, So it happened, like I saw this thing for longer than just a split second, And I laid there for a minute. Now it's pitch black in this place, right? Because there's no street lights, of course, or nothing, because we're out in the middle of nowhere, right? And horrified. I was so scared that I actually went in and climbed into bed with your mom, because not that your mom was going to save me, but it felt safer to be with somebody than by myself, right?
Yeah, if you're
I wasn't afraid of anything, right? It was like, holy shit. So for me to be that scared, this shit was real,
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I remember when we lived there, it was this upstairs apartment, and like this, it was a big house. So like the stairs going up were outside, but they were huge, right? But there was no light on the stairs. And I was going to work at like 5:00 in the morning, which, was still pitch black, So I had
how far away was this from here?
Where the falls are going towards great grandma's house?
Niagara Falls?
Grandma Sally's.
No, I don't.
You remember where Grandma Sally in Maryland lived, right? Okay, well, it's like 30 minutes past Arcade.
Okay. Where were you working?
I was working at Prestolate in Arcade at the time.
You took a 30-minute commute for like $9 an hour?
From there to Arcade, it was, from there to Arcade, it was probably like 15 minutes. I'm sorry. So from here to there is like 30, 35 minutes.
Okay. I was going to say.
Yeah. So it was like
30-minute commute for like $9 an hour isn't worth it.
Yeah. Well, $9 an hour back then was a lot of money. So
I don't think you were making $9 an hour back then.
I started there at almost 10.
Oh,
I was making good money when I worked there for the time.
You were a concrete kind of guy, though, right? You were doing all the hard work.
I was doing all the hard work back there.
Yeah, that's what.
So anyway, I was driving there, and I started at 5. So I was leaving there at like 4:30, because I'd go and get there a little early, have my coffee, have my cigarette, get ready to go to work. And I remember your mom and I were watching, like, your mom always liked horror movies back then, right? So we watched some horror movie before I went to bed, and of course, I had some nightmares or whatever, like usual, after watching a horror movie, right? The next morning, I'm heading down to the car, right? And the car was like, maybe 5 feet, 10 feet in front of the stairs, right? So I was just a straight shot down the stairs into the car. Back then, we didn't have the thing where you could click and your lights would turn on, right? It was, didn't have that. So I always had a little flashlight that I carried. Well, I'm halfway down the stairs, and the flashlight dies.
Ooh.
Right? I'm like, fuck. Right? So all the nightmares and the horror movies we've been watching are spinning through my brain. I hit the ground, get the door open, the light turns on, and this dog that looks like a werewolf comes flying out of nowhere. Right?
Out of the car?
No, out of the
off of the
trees.
Oh.
Right? So I jump, trying to jump in the car. Now, I'm I
You're a
was
big man.
Yeah, I was a big
You're a
man,
big man.
right? And I was driving it. I was getting into a little Ford Tempo, right? So
Yeah.
not always easy just to jump in, right? So the dog, I didn't know this at the time, but the dog ends up being really friendly, right? Jumps right up into the car with me, sitting there, trying to get me to pet it and everything. And I'm still trying to get my heart rate back down to, not being
It was
killed
a
by a
skinwalker.
werewolf in the middle of Wiscoy, New York, right? So finally, I, calm myself down, pet the dog a little bit, get the dog out so I could leave. Well, I get home.
Was it just a random dog?
No, your mom's Aunt Connie had bought a Australian Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
Right. But I mean, the
I
way
was
it
gonna
was
say, why
like
is there a random dog?
in the middle of the night, right? It did.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't look like a werewolf when I saw it later that
You were
day.
you were just imagining things
Right.
too. Yeah.
So I mean, like everything was extreme. It was horrifying though. It was just,
Yeah.
it was bad. But it was so funny because like later on I get home, she's like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you guys I got a dog." I'm like, "Yeah, probably would have been better to know that
Yeah.
this morning."
Maybe this morning.
And then I told her the
liked to know
story.
that.
She was dying. Aunt Connie laughed just like Nana did, right? Just this big, loud, boisterous laugh, right? She was dying. I'm like, yeah, real funny. Almost had a heart attack. You guys probably would have had to come out and scrape me off the floor because I had a heart attack on the damn driveway.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was good times.
I don't know.
There's one other story I was going to tell, and I forgot what it is now, though. But anyway, you got to get going soon because you're going to the gym with your bros.
I got a little bit of time. Okay. Don't rush
you
me
got
out of
another
here.
story?
I have a story.
You got a story?
To tell.
All right.
I have a story to tell. Okay, so
Luke's got a story to tell.
Another thing about this land that we live on is that yes, there were Native American people on there. That we already discussed this, right? There were Native American people that used to live there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this story is real. This isn't a ghost story right now. This is a story that I heard from Pa. But I'm pretty sure at one point someone killed someone on the land and had to bury them back in the woods.
No, that
I
was
don't know
the
if it's
Indian
real.
lady. The Indian lady got buried back.
A man, I don't know who it was. Pa said some guy killed a Native American person and buried them back on the land.
Yeah.
That was a story I heard from Pa.
That's the Native American woman.
She didn't kill herself, though.
No.
She was
did I
murdered.
say she killed herself? She was murdered.
Yeah.
She was murdered because she got pregnant by a white man. And
Yeah,
the white man didn't want her to have the baby.
Mhm. Yep.
And so
she's
she's buried back there in the woods.
Yeah. So that happened. And I
Hold
heard
on a
the lady call my name. Aloha, Skunkworks.
There's Jeff. What's going on, brother?
So I hear the lady call my name, right? That's the first thing that ever happens. That's really scary because I'm like, what the heck? Why is there a lady calling my name? And then a couple weeks later, me and the same friend are back in the woods, and we're climbing up this because there's a lot of ravines back in this woods. They're deep, like this high compared to a person that's like this big. So we climbing up these ravines, and I see a shadow lady like standing there with no head and no legs, just like a shadow torso with like it's just standing there. Creepy, very creepy. So I'm like, hey, let's get out of here. And we run back, not out of the woods, but away from where we just saw that. And we start hearing this drumming for some reason. Now, it could have been car doors being closed like over and over again for some reason, which doesn't really make sense. It wasn't hammers, because I know what a hammer sounds like, right? There's a metal sound to it. It sounded like something being like goosh, 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 too bassy. It could have been a drum. Wow.
He doesn't mean Paris, France either. He's in Paris, Illinois.
But so we hear that. Then one day, my dad's like, hey, I dare you to go back into the woods for a minute in the dark without a flashlight. And I dare you to walk back there. So I walk all the way back to the woods.
Well, let's start over here. Okay, let's start over.
Okay, let's start.
I was working in the shop, and you come in there talking about how big and badass you are. And
hey, man, I did it. I still did it.
And I said, okay, then walk out in the middle of the woods in the pitch black.
And I did.
So I didn't just randomly bet my son to go stand in the middle of the dark woods and get eaten by.
You said I wouldn't, though. You didn't think I would.
I did. I paid you money too, didn't I?
No, you didn't. I got no money out of that.
What'd I bet you then? I bet you something.
Nothing. That was just awesomeness.
Oh, just
bet me if I was awesome enough to do it. Yeah. So I did it. But while I was back there, I saw a lantern-looking white light, like the most white light I've ever seen in my entire life. Not just like, not like a fiery type of light, like a white light that was just walking through the trees back and forth, like a wisp, like a will-o'-the-wisp, just walking and back and forth in between the trees. And I kind of sat there for a second and got hypnotized by it. And then I was like, wait, I'm looking at a ghost probably. So I sprinted back as fast as I could. I ran into a tree that was like this big, a sapling little tree. And my dad was standing there in the dark, and I freaked out. It was terrifying. Was
that when I scared you? Because I ended up moving to the backside of the garage, standing in the
you're
dark?
behind the garage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it always when I hear or see a ghost that you just have to be there to be creepy?
That's my job, dude.
But so, and then this happened, this story that I'm about to tell happened before all of this, like before everything. My entire family was out having a bonfire, and we were playing Ghost in the Graveyard, and we were running around, and randomly I look into the trees and I see this ball of light just in the trees, just sitting in the trees. And it's not the moon, because I saw the moon up in the sky. It was this ball of light that was in between, and I could see it blocking the trees behind it. So it had to be within the tree line, right? Like it couldn't just be behind all the trees. It had to be in the tree line because it was blocking some of the trees behind it. It was just floating there. And I just stared at it for like a minute and a half. Like, what the heck is that? Why is there just a glowing ball of light in the trees? That was scary. I didn't know what that was. Maybe it was the ghost lady. Maybe it was some alien creature. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is like, it's like we talked a couple weeks ago with the cryptids, right? If you spend enough time in the woods or in places where there's not a lot of where you can like focus, right? Or get away from all the distractions, let's say, you're going to see things. Right?
Absolutely.
And people that write that off and just poo-poo it away, or, tell everybody that they're crazy because they see things or believe things or whatever, right? There's shit that's out there, right? I mean, like,
I heard this
like
something the other day.
My ex-wife, Karina's mother, right? We met when we were 17 years old. Well, the summer after we graduated high school. So 17, 18 years old, right?
I thought she was from Georgia, though.
No, she lived in Buffalo, New York at this time.
Oh.
When we first met. She lived in Kenmore, New York, right? And she always stayed in the city. And it wasn't until she was 17 years old that she actually saw a cow for the first time for real, right? In the real world, right?
Yeah. Some people haven't seen snow.
Right.
Like, so, 70% of the planet hasn't seen snow in their entire life.
Right. So I mean, it's like, you think about something like that, and it's like, how can you just chalk everything up to, oh, that's not real, because it's never been seen? Well, there's people in this world, like when I went into the Army, there was guys that I was with that were from New York City and other big cities that had never seen like never been in a lake, right? They swam in pools and fire hydrants. That's all they knew, right? It was like, how do you not know how to swim when you're 18, 20 years old? Well, we didn't have pool.
We don't know half of what happens in those jungles, man. Like, imagine a jungle.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think we know anything. Like, us people don't know anything that happens in those jungles. We don't know the size of the bugs, the animals out there, man.
No.
The tigers.
People don't know how to tiger. People don't know how to sit though, and just sit quietly, because either A, they can't because they just can't sit still long enough, like you, or B, their mind takes over and they get scared of everything, right? It's just like that video I posted on YouTube the other day with that deer that came up. She was right across the creek from me. Like, I was sitting in my spot where I always sit, and that deer was like, and because I was just sitting still, right? She walked right up, had her baby with her. And the only reason, I mean, she was on a little high, high anxiety because her fawn was with her. But I mean, like, she didn't really see me. She kept looking in my direction, sniffing. But then when she finally caught
she probably knew you were there.
Yeah.
But like, animals sit at watering holes together constantly. Like lions and gazelles just chill at watering holes constantly together.
Yep.
And the thing
what I'm saying is, like, if you're sitting out there long
enough,
right? Like when you were walking in the woods and see these things, right? If you're there and focused and like in the moment, right? You're going to see things.
Oh yeah.
Experience things, right?
People don't realize about animals is that they're just animals. Like, they're not trying to run away from you constantly. Like, we're animals too. they're not scared of us. They're scared of us trying to attack them or pet them.
Right.
or
They're
something, right?
scared of getting hurt. Right. Like I said, that's
Exactly.
what the whole reason with the spawn or the doe was so on high alert, right? Because her baby was with her, and it was
Yeah.
still had the spots and everything, right? I mean, it was adorable.
But anyway, I believe it's time we have to go.
Yes, you have to go to the gym. So next week we will be covering aliens.
Aliens.
So yeah, we'll be doing aliens next Tuesday, 8:30. If you guys have any recommendations for topics you want us to cover, we'll cover anything. It doesn't matter. We like it all.
Except for Irish folktales.
What's wrong with Irish folktale?
You know exactly what's wrong with Irish folktales.
You don't like the leprechauns. All right. First, so let's see. You can catch Luke at Instagram on Luke the Lotus. Lotus is still up for sale on Amazon. So if you want to buy his book, it's still 99 cents for a digital download or $10 for a paperback. Really good book.
It says you haven't even read it.
I read half of it. Luke's going to audible the rest of it to me so I can enjoy the rest of the book because I can't read because of my eyeballs. I am here on this channel and on Instagram at action_figs. So if you want to talk to us, find us. Like I said, anything you have that you want us to cover, any suggestions for topics or whatever, send us a message. Other than that, you want to play us out, Luke? Everybody, thank you. Have a great night.
2, 1.